Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to talk about entrepreneurship as a disabled individual. My name is Glenneisha Darkins, and I am a visual artist, a painter, um, digital artist, an entrepreneur, to put it all to sum it up. Thank you, Terry. About myself, I am from Miami, Florida. I grew up here. I'm born and raised here. I received my bachelor's degree from here at FIU University with my psychology degree in an area in women's study. Before I received that, I went to Florida A&M, which is when my accident occurred. Um, I was coming traveling from Tallahassee, Florida, to Miami during Thanksgiving break, and I was flown 25 feet away from the accident, and I was the only one with the severe injuries. And I am a quadriplegic, and I'll get to that in a minute of what that means. During my journey, I wrote a book about my experience as a disabled person. It's not the easiest thing, not the most fun, of course, transitioning from an able-bodied individual to a disabled person. My book is called Freedom Chair, an open diary of a quadriplegic. I took some notes and some inspiration from Anne Frank. I wanted to release a book that allowed me to express my frustrations and my time, as a quadriplegic during my early stages of the accident. So in this presentation, I wanted to highlight the benefits and just showing that entrepreneurship is definitely a viable option for those like myself who wants to seek self-employment. In this presentation, I just hope that everyone gains an understanding and are open to, you know, sharing and exploring self-employment with their clients, someone that maybe looks like me or with any other disability. Thank you, Terry. As you can see, I've been through a journey where I had to go through intensive therapy, learning to do things on my own, which is not always physical because I do have limitations. But being able to use my neck, being able to control like the electronics, um, control how I communicate, it helped me to not only gain autonomy, but it also helped me give me a sense of possibility, knowing that things are possible. Because without it, I would not have graduated or wrote or written papers. And we all know how writing papers is just a dread. But being able to do that and having the opportunity to do that, it gave me a sense of autonomy and independence. I felt great. And knowing that, it led me to wanting to be a painter. Thank you, Terry. And as a visual artist, I've completed numerous amount of work for different people, from dogs to people to celebrities to still life, and sharing that space with other disabled individuals who are also self-employed and entrepreneurs. We all venture out in this space because we want to express ourselves in a way that is different and unique and unheard of. It's not as common as people might think, but knowing that I'm in this space with other individuals such as myself, it allows us to share that and to pretty much show the world that being an entrepreneur, although it may be hard like anything else in life, we can still do it. Thank you, Terry. So to start, a disability is the inability to engage in anything, work or any physical activities or intellectual or educational that hinders us from being I guess a candidate for certain jobs or being at in certain classrooms with certain individuals. We're all given a we're all given a how can I say this? We're all given the option to, not even an option, but we're designated to different places, in different classrooms, different uh, career opportunities and placements based on our abilities and disabilities. For me, I am a quadriplegic, so that affects my mobility and my spinal cord injury, as well as a head injury, which I did suffer from. But gratefully, I did not suffer enough where it affected my cognitive abilities. As you can see, I'm very cognizant, which is one of those misconceptions about being a disabled person, which I'll get to as well. But there's many types of disabilities. There's mobility and physical, as I've touched bases on, spinal cord injuries, head injury, vision, hearing, cognitive and learning disabilities, and psychological disorders. Thank you, Terry. And once we know the disability, we know how to talk to those that are disabled and those that are experiencing a disability. And as I've said, it was not the easiest transition for me, for myself, but I know that being around support groups, being around friends that looks like me, that have been disabled before me, even when they were born, we've all experienced a level of depression and isolation as a result of our limitations. And this transitions to career opportunities as well as social life. Because we're in this wheelchair, we're automatically isolated. People look at us as if we're not capable of doing certain things. Granted, it can be a fair assumption, but sometimes it's not always a fair assumption. And being disabled, it comes with a lot of disadvantages and a lot of hurdles and battles, medical expenses, and dealing with work-related and social misconceptions. As I said, we've looked at as being helpless, burdensome, and too dependent or too distant. And when we're too distant, it's mainly because we don't know how to approach someone that isn't too approachable when it comes to our situation. When it comes to medical expenses, I've dealt with situations where I had to come out of pocket to pay for certain medical supplies and medical care. And being on a Medicaid or Medicare is a very tough to maintain the uh, the the expenses that come with it. It's very expensive, and that's why mostly a lot of people who are disabled seek out self-employment or entrepreneurship. We're not only trying to be autonomous and independent, but we're also trying to survive. And sometimes that can translate to being depressed when we can't do that. Thank you, Terry. And as we know that, again, we transition that to wanting to finally find something to do that allows us to be self sufficient. And I use self employment and entrepreneurship interchangeably. It's basically working for yourself and managing your own business, managing your own finances, and just managing things that pertains to your business. Thank you, Terry. And this is where it goes to, thank you, Terry. This is where it goes to vocational rehab. This is where they step in. They are programs that help individuals like myself to obtain and maintain a job. This is through assessments that tests our psychological, cognitive, emotional, and physical level. This helps them to understand what we're good at, our strengths and weaknesses, uh, where we where would be where would be where would we be good placed as far as a job or a career, such as customer service or a cubicle job or whatever the situation is. It all depends on what you're capable of doing physically and mentally. Sometimes it can be a bit discouraging because we've experienced a traumatic experience. It does affect how we score on our assessments, but it is a good way to understand where how to understand the client who's coming in looking for a job to obtain a job. Thank you, Terry. For me, my experience with VR, it wasn't the best. It was a bit discouraging. only because I felt inadequate. I didn't feel that um, I was equipped to become or be in a situation where I'm in an office with other people. I didn't feel that I was given a chance to really explore more of my creative side and my strengths and weaknesses. Not saying that I'm not that smart, but I just felt more comfortable exploring more of my passion than what I need to be doing. It was a bit overwhelming with so many different types of no's and rejections that I can't do. I was only given the option to be a customer service rep, so that was concerning. I don't like really talking on the phone. I do have a trach, so it makes it harder for people to understand me. So I didn't feel that the counselor that I had at the time could really, understand where I was coming from when it came to that. I didn't really like that. I just felt limited in my opportunities. And this is why I'm here to discuss why entrepreneurship should be explored. No, it's not the end all be all, but it's something to be discussed because not only are we capable of doing things that we love to do, capable of doing things that it's not just always physical, but it's something to think about and not just uh, something that should be discussed like later down the line. It should also be discussed when we're discussing uh, 9 to 5 job placement, traditional careers. It should be just as important as that. And I don't like to feel undervalued, so I want to be in a place where I am supported, accommodated, and not seen as helpless or burdensome or distant. I want to be able to contribute to the larger society, the greater society, with what I can do. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. And as we know, entrepreneurship again, it's not the easiest thing. It's not going to be easier for those in my position. Just like someone who is able-bodied, it also comes with a lot that comes. It also comes with uh, hardships and disadvantages and advantages. But it's not the reason why entrepreneurship should not be discussed. If we go back to 1998, it was revised, the Rehabilitation Act of 1998. This is primarily just essentially just an informed choice. It allows the disabled person to have the choice and the freedom to decide on what they want to do. When we become more um, when we engage in communication with our clients or with our counselor, we're exploring the opportunity to be autonomous, to have the choice to say, yes, I want to do this, or no, I want to do this because I feel X, Y, and Z. And I think more conversations of that should be had. We should be given a choice too to explore entrepreneurship and self employment if the traditional 9 to 5 is not our thing, or our strengths and weaknesses based on those tests shows us differently or shows us that we're not, I guess, equipped for that type of job. Thank you, Terry. And if we look at the statistics, and I'm not really a numbers girl, but knowing that this is backing up what I'm saying, it allows us to come together to see how beneficial this can be for disabled individuals like myself who are seeking employment. According to the Bureau of Labor since 2001, I believe at least 10%, um, is a percentage of at least 10% of a larger scale of workers with disability who are self-employed. And knowing this, it allows us to see that we're not the only ones. It is a possibility that self-employment can be a viable option. Individuals with disability are less likely to be offered promotional opportunities. When we're in these positions with other who work for someone else, we're not always given a chance to level up based on our disability. And sometimes that's not always a good thing. It's based on how we look and our disabilities rather than what we can bring to the table. And that's not always fair. Can it be discrimination? Possibly, but it also can just be a situation where they're not educated enough on how disabled individuals can do more than what they look like. The self-employment rate has notably increased amongst individuals with disabilities and persons without disabilities for the past 20 years. So for the past 20 years, it's been said and it's been seen that self-employment as for disabled individuals, it's not something that's lost on the world. Even though it's not common, it's still leveling up, and people, more disabled individuals are venturing out on self-employment because it has much better benefits socially, emotionally, and even economically once it keeps going, once there's some consistency. Thank you, Terry. And prior to COVID-19, people with disabilities were already experiencing higher rates of unemployment. For me, it was the same way. I didn't really understand what this meant for my business, but it did skyrocket. Knowing that what I do is always virtual, I had a lot of sales, and I felt that this was the perfect avenue and lane for me rather than working from home or jobs getting cut because of it. There are additional barriers that people with disabilities have to face if they were to return to traditional employment. Unsafe work interactions and public transportations are just a few. Not everywhere is accommodating, or they have accessibilities where it's accessible for us. It's very disheartening sometimes because the world hasn't caught up to disabled individuals in wheelchairs or with walkers or whatever the case may be. The pandemic plays a huge role in the increase in self-employment for both able and disabled individuals. So the pandemic allowed everyone to tap into their creative side, such as myself. You have to go out and do what you have to do. Everything from TikTok to Instagram, all the social medias were aiding and catapulting me into my own business. It allowed others to just see what they can do, from IT to coding, things that we can do with our maybe with our mouth, maybe, or with our eyes, or with our fingers, or whatever the case is. We were given our accommodations to do so rather than before that. So why not entrepreneurship if it gives you these great benefits? Thank you, Terry. And as I've said, the advantages and disadvantages, like anything in life, there's always pros and cons. Whether you're able-bodied or disabled, there's always some pros and cons. The goal is to be persistent, consistent, and having that discipline. For me, I felt very disciplined to put myself in a position to be self-sufficient and autonomous. I wanted to be able to be flexible because as a disabled person, we come with a lot of things for our daily lives. We do a lot of things in our daily tasks, from getting dressed to from doing our workouts, doing our therapy, from accidents that may can happen that we can't control, from getting dressed to our sick days. There's times where disabled individuals have to go through more than what the average able-bodied person has to go through every day. We can't just wake up and do X, Y, and Z and we're done. No, it takes more than that. Speaking for myself, it takes a lot. I have to get repositioned every so often to make sure that I don't get any bed sores or any breakdowns. But having that flexibility to be able to work when I would like to, or when time permits, that feels great to know that. Compared to a traditional service or traditional career placement, that's not always the case. They're not always so lenient. And yeah, we speak of equal rights, but let's be honest, it's not always equal when it comes to disabled individuals because we have to deal with much more in our daily lives. I've also spoken on autonomous independence aspect of being self-employed. For me, when I'm able to paint and when I'm able to speak with others or to book my own engagements or events, I feel good about it. I feel that I'm not always depending on someone else. I feel that I'm able to do what I have to do to get where I need to go. There's always accommodations when I'm self-employed. I have my own van. It was easy to get, but I got that. And I'm able to seek out resources to help me get those accommodations. Also, for communication, I found ways to communicate through social media, how to connect to my computer from an app called Jump Desktop. It allows me to use my mouse stylus to be able to connect to others, connect to the greater world, and to get things done. And all in all, it gives you opportunity to just strive. Everyone wants to be able to live that American dream. The American dream is to be free and confident in what you're doing. And I would love to be confident and free to what I'm doing. I want to strive like everyone else and not be looked at as anything else. It comes with limitations, of course. There's employer provided health or retirement benefits. That can be a bit tricky as a self-employed person because we're not there in that stage yet. We're not given the benefits of certain things, such as with other able-bodied individuals. It's not the same. It can be a bit daunting, but once the consistency and discipline kicks in, we can start getting those things in order. It also is reminded. I also want to remind others that also if you're on SSI or SSA, there is a threshold of how much you can make before they rip away or take away your benefits. So it's essential to know how much you can do, how much you can make, and where you shouldn't go at, knowing if your business is not that consistent. So it's good to know where you should, what's your financial goal. There's also the business expenses. For me, when I got my LLC, it costs about $100. But that right there just let me know that I'm able to do whatever I can with my LLC to start my business. There's LLC, there's S corp, there's taxes, sales tax, tax exemptions, all sorts of different ways to fund your business and to operate your business. There's different resources for that, and just like everything else, there's risk involved. But if you're ready to do it, if you're ready to be autonomous, and you're ready to put yourself out there, there's no risk. You have nothing else to lose. Thank you, Terry. With the help of VR, having a counselor that can believe in my dream as much as I do, I think that's the greatest thing that can be done. We already have family support and friend support, but to have that support from someone that's helping us trying to have our footing in life, I believe that's the greatest thing you can do because it pushes us, it motivates us. Sometimes we're looked at as inspiration, but sometimes we want to be inspired too or motivated too. But if we have teamwork, not yet. We have teamwork together. We can also bring this to fruition. We're able to talk to each other and communicate our strengths, our weaknesses, and our passions, what we're good at, what we love to do. Sometimes trying to monetize your hobby can be risky, but if we love to do it, we're disciplined and consistent enough to make that something a possibility. If we're able to fix the attitudes towards self-employment by the counselors, I believe we can take it far. I believe self-employment can be just as talked about as traditional careers. Some attitudes consist of, well, it's not lucrative. It's not right now, it's in the early stages, you have to do XYZ, it's too tedious. Or some counselors just don't want to go through that process. It's not fair to that because we're trying to build a legacy or reach financial freedom. Thank you, Terry. For different resources, I'm thankful for VR because I was able to venture out based on what I learned. Learning about the small business development centers, I was able to know about LLCs, S corps, tax exemptions, X, Y, and Z. It goes on. It was able to aid me in developing my business, my art business. Just for a brief definition, it's designed to aid in counseling and training to small businesses. So we have the resources to help us get there, and we have the people in place to help us do the same. It includes working with the SBA to develop and provide informational tools. And that's all that really matters, information. There's also SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit program that aims to help entrepreneurs develop, launch, and grow their small business. Again, these resources are in place to help individuals like myself reach heights such as with Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. It's the opportunities are wide and it's vast, and we're able to do that with the help of certain resources like this. And you also have the certified business technical assistant consultant with the the CBTAC. It's a big acronym, but here we are. It assists an individual through the business development process and are available if the program meets the vocational rehab qualifications. Thank you, Terry. We have JAN, the Job Accommodation Network. It's also a free service for those that seek an employment. It helps you with referrals, business planning, and e-commerce, including and not limited to disability-specific programs. E-commerce such as Shopify, Big Cartel, they are very hands-on, and those resources can really help someone that's seeking employment in the online business. The Ticket to Work program is a program that allows up to a free year, to where disabled individuals can make however much they want, deciding on if they want to maintain their job. And that's only if you qualify, if you have SSI benefits. But it's a good program because it allows you to see what you want and to build up your financial capital. Okay, Terry, next. The severity of one's disability does not determine the level of potential. The greatest barriers that persons with disability have is to overcome. So it's not always what you see on the outside. It's obviously what you know and the inside. And I believe that once people are more open-minded to that and not basing their assumptions or misconceptions on someone as a physically disabled person, regardless of what disability they have, you never know what passions, strengths, and what creativity they have, such as myself. I didn't know I was an artist until I was able to pick up what I learned from Shepherd Center, from my accident, and my discipline. Being that I'm able to control my mouth, why not put it to use? Thank you, Terry. We know that the goal is not just to place employment at the forefront, but it's just to include it as a option, not right now, as an option, I'll call it, as a option for disabled individuals to have that choice to decide on what they would like to do, to expand and to share their gifts and passions to the world. Not everyone wants to be in a cubicle or talk on the phone, booking carnival sites and all that. No one wants to do that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to put myself out there and create in a way that shares my story and my journey, and to also educate others on disabilities and knowing the possibilities we can have. So no, entrepreneurship is not an all be all. It's just something that needs to be explored much more, such as with traditional career options. And in this presentation, I just hope that the vocational rehabilitation counselors are able to talk more with your clients. You never know what you can find out. You never know what you can learn from them. And being able to do so, you're able to not only just give them options of traditional career options or placements, but also ask them to explore what they like to do. Do they want to monetize off of it? And is it worth it to them? Do they have the resources? Do they think they can do it? That's all that really matters. But once we have communication and teamwork, I believe it can work. And it can work because it's looking for me. Although my experience was not the greatest, I did learn that I'm able to speak up and look out for accommodations and accessibilities for myself. And I hope that I was able to show you and exemplify what it means to be an entrepreneur as a disabled person. Thank you.